Hello YouTubers, this is Cessna Ace back again with another video. This is the first video in a new series I am calling Videogame Homebrew Report. Now, the whole idea behind this series of videos is to report on, comment on, and give advance word on current and upcoming homebrew releases across every system. Now, as it so happens, this video is concentrating on the systems I collect for, but that's a lie. Now, of all the games that I am going to cover, I have ordered, or have pre-ordered, 7 of them. But I'm not going to tell you which ones. I'll let you try and figure that out. Now, I tried to decide how to best present this information, whether I should mention the games in alphabetical order or by developer, publisher, or whatever. I finally decided to go with breaking them down by system. Now, first up, the Sega Master System. As many of you know, I have been desperately trying to find homebrews in cartridge form for the Sega Master System and haven't had any luck. Recently, I rejoined SMS Power. I was a member some time ago, but that was quite some time ago. Now, if you've ever been to SMS Power, you know that they have an annual homebrewing contest. People submit homebrews, which remain on their site, but they're only available as downloads to be played on emulators, which I have zero interest in. I want to play them on the actual hardware the game was designed for, in or on the media that was designed to be played on that system, if that makes any sense, whether it's cartridge or disc. Now, I started a thread at SMS Power, and I also started contacting some of the developers because that information is given for each of the homebrews that are up there. And I finally found some that either have been released on cartridge by the original developer or are currently being offered. Now, these particular games are or were made available one copy at a time. When you order one, they would make it. Now, the first one is currently still being offered by the developer. That game is called Bread and Butter. Now, this game, like all of the others that I'm going to mention for the Sega Master System, while they are still available as downloads at SMS Power, they have been debugged and in some cases enhanced for the actual cartridge release. Now, in the case of Bread and Butter, brand new cases, color manuals, and all of the electronics inside the cartridge are brand new. The only thing recycled was the cartridge shell. Cost is $30, including shipping, or that includes shipping, at least if you live in the US. The second game that I'm going to mention for the Master System was one that was offered by someone in the UK. It looks like a really good game too, Digger Chan. Unfortunately, it is no longer being offered. So if you didn't get one of those original cartridges, chances are you're not going to find it unless the developer suddenly decides to go ahead and offer it again. Next up is a game that's technically not a homebrew. It is a prototype for a game that was originally intended to be released in Europe. It was the follow-up to a game that was only released for the Master System in Europe and Brazil. And that game was Lemmings. This follow-up game is called Lemmings 2: The Tribes. It is being offered for €30 and comes in a new case, cartridge, color manual, and it is going to, or is being shipped anywhere in the world, from what I understand. I already have 3 prototypes for the Master System, but I bought all 3 of those from the NES dump. Hook, which was going to be published by Sony, wound up they only released it for the NES. They canceled the SMS release. Pat Riley Basketball, likewise, it was finished and then canceled before being released. And then a game developed by Sega, Sonic EduSoft, or as some sources name it, Sonic's EduSoft, an educational title starring Sonic. After Sega developed it, they canceled the release. So I have those 3. They're on NTSC cartridges. But all of these other games are not. They're designed to be played on either a PAL or an NTSC system. Next up is another genuine homebrew for the Master System called Pork Police Reduced Fat. $30, everything brand new except for the cartridge shell. Okay, now moving on to the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive. A lot of games here. First up, and I believe I mentioned this game already, Beggar Prince. It is currently being offered as a pre-order for another run. Before Pure Solar, this was the most popular homebrew for the Genesis / Mega Drive. So it had a number of runs. Well, it's being offered again. Cost, not including shipping, $55. Another game that they're offering as a pre-order at Super Fighter Team is called Cascade. It's being offered as a pre-order for $40. Next comes a game I already have a copy of. It is no longer available. It is sold out. From Super Fighter Team, Legend of Wukong. They initially made 600 copies. As I mentioned, all of them sold out. But they are talking about offering it again, and if they do, it's going to be a pre-order situation. So you may want to keep your eye on Super Fighter Team if you missed out on Legend of Wukong, an RPG, and you want to go ahead and get it. Next up is a game Super Fighter Team is offering as a pre-order, Magical Girl. Now, I mentioned Pure Solar. That is being offered again. Now, in addition to the Genesis / Mega Drive version, which I have the enhanced version, which came with a Sega CD / Mega CD for enhanced sound. In addition to being offered again for that system, it has also been ported to the Dreamcast, which I believe was a Kickstarter project. Anyway, they're offering 3 different packaging variations on it. The North American packaging version, the Japanese packaging version, and the European packaging version. All 3 are $50 per. It has also been ported. It has also been ported to the PC, and I believe that version is $50. Now, they are trying to gear up to release it for the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 and the Vita and the Xbox 360 and several other systems. But they're not limited to just that game. They have 2 other projects in the works. One they label Project M, and the other one I think is Project J. In any event, the next homebrew for the Genesis / Mega Drive is called The Shifting Catacombs. Now, it's not one that has been offered, nor are they taking pre-orders for it. What they are doing is gauging people's responses to see if there is enough interest to produce it as a homebrew. And I've already cast my vote in the affirmative. That will be in a EU style case and will be offered in a PAL and NTSC compatible Mega Drive cartridge, and also it'll be made available in a PAL and NTSC compatible Mega CD disc if it's released. Now, finally, for the well, not finally, actually, also for the Mega Drive and Genesis, Star Odyssey. That was released by Super Fighter Team. Again, that one was limited to 600 copies, sold out. I have my copy, but they are talking about having a second run. Alright, then there is something called It Came from the Desert Extended Cut. Now, that was developed by Cinemaware, but its release is being handled by Watermelon, the company behind Pure Solar. Now, I mentioned they have two projects in the works at Watermelon. One's for the Genesis / Mega Drive, and the other one is for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom. But I don't know what those games are called, because they won't say. Alright, now, moving on to the Super Nintendo. There is a game called Justice Beaver. It is being offered at Indiegogo, which is kind of like Kickstarter. Now, if you buy a copy, or if you pledge a certain amount, you will get a copy regardless. Now, they're like Kickstarter, there are varying price points depending on what kind of bonus you want to get. The least expensive to get an actual cartridge complete in box costs $65. Shipping is free if you live in the US. If you don't, they ask for an additional $10. The other homebrew for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom is being offered by Super Fighter Team as a pre-order, and that is Nightmare Busters. Pre-order price $70. Okay, now we move on to Atari. There is the Atari Lynx homebrew Zaku, which was released by Super Fighter Team. Limited to 600 copies. It is long since sold out. I have mine. However, they are talking about possibly making it available as a reordered situation, where you can pre-order a second batch, if that makes any sense. Okay, next up. I paid a little visit to Atari Age. The new homebrews, or recent homebrews, for the 2600, most of which you can either get loose or complete in box. Generally, their loose copies go for between $20 and $30, and their complete in box copies go for $50 to $60. There's Blinky Goes Up, Flappy, Omicron, which supports the Atari Vox and the Atari Vox Plus. I only have one other game for the Atari Vox. I don't have an Atari Vox or an Atari Vox Plus. It's something they sell, though. I think it only costs around $25. It plugs into the controller port, and then you plug your controller into it. And what it does is it increases the amount of RAM available. It offers voice and music synthesis, high score saves, and in some cases, in-game progress. Now, the Atari Vox Plus in addition to supporting the 2600 and the 7800 as the plain Atari Vox does, also supports the Vectrex. Okay, another enhanced game, Atari Vox enhanced game, is called Pinata. It's actually a multi-cart with 5 games on it, 32K. Seaweed Assault, Space Rocks, 3S, which is a port of the iOS game 3s. They're offering it, it's only $20. However, there are 5 label variations, and you don't get to pick which one you get. It's randomized. Okay, for the Atari 7800, there is Armor Attack 2, Astro Blaster, Crazy Auto, Frenzy, and a port of the Odyssey 2 game, KC Munchkin. For the Atari Jaguar CD, Full Circle Rocketeer. And that's it for this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, stay awesome. Games that I am going to cover, I have ordered, or have pre-ordered, 7 of them. But I'm not going to tell you which ones. I'll let you try and figure that out. Now, I tried to decide how to best present this information. Whether I should, if you know, I have been desperately trying to find homebrews in cartridge form for the Sega Master System and haven't had any luck. Recently, I rejoined SMS Power. I was a member some time ago, but that was quite some time ago. Now, if you've ever been to SMS Power, you mention the games in alphabetical order or by developer, publisher, or whatever. I finally decided to go with breaking them down by system. Now, first up, the Sega Master System. As many of Hello YouTubers, this is Cessna Ace back again with another video. This is the first video in a new series I am calling Videogame Homebrew Report. Now, the whole idea behind this series of videos is to report on, comment on, and give advance word on current and upcoming homebrew releases across every system. Now, as it so happens, this video is concentrating on the systems I collect for, but that's a lie. Now, of all the